Hey, what's up, Shawty? My name is Victoria Sweet, and today we are going to be doing another Reddit breakdown. Today's story is called The Wasp Room by Darkly Gathers on Reddit. So today's story is, if you don't like bees or wasps or anything like that, I kind of suggest that you just click off. The Wasp Room is exactly how it sounds. It is not a very fun story. It's a good story, it's good, but it messes with your brain. I have been seeing more people than I usually do because it's winter break, and so we're all getting together to exchange gifts and stuff, but also because, yeah, I think that's it. I'm able to make more videos than I usually would be able to because it's winter break, so I have more time to go out and I have more time to edit. But I'm not really going out that much. It's usually just because it is winter break and I get to see my family and I get to see some friends and I get to exchange gifts. So I'm really excited about that, to see my aunt. We're going to dinner with my aunt to see each other and exchange gifts. So I'm just kind of doing chill kind of look. I'm not really going for anything super foundation and everything like I was yesterday. But I just wanted to kind of tell this story while I was getting ready. We start out with this girl. She's a new student. We don't know her name, but she's going to this school in the rural West Coast. We don't know the name of the school, but and she just started going there, and she's been going for about a week. The kids were all nice. The teachers were nice, but no one ever got detention. She never saw that happen. But she didn't really think anything of it because all the kids were nice. She didn't really see any kids act up, but she could tell that there was a lot of unease in the school, but she didn't know why. She couldn't put her finger on it. As it kind of went on, she wanted answers to why she felt like everyone was so uneasy. And so she's in class and she goes to the person next to her and she's like, "Hey, what's going on?" And she's like, "Shut up." She hushes her and she's like, "Shh, don't talk about it." And she's like, "Okay." And the girl says that there is a wasp room. And she's like, "The wasp room?" And at first, our main character thought that it was a joke. She was like, "Oh." And the girl was like, So she's like, "No, this isn't real. This is a joke." So maybe it was an acronym for something. Maybe it was just detention and everyone was really scared of it. Nobody wants detention here. Nobody wants detention. Or maybe it was an inside joke. Maybe she thought people were just messing with her because she was a new kid. But now that she was she knew what it was and she heard why everyone was being so uneasy, she started hearing it more often. She heard it in the hallway, she heard it throughout the school when people were talking, whispers. She heard it everywhere. She's like, "Okay, well, now I know what people are talking about." But she never really had any interaction with or knew of anything that would happen with the wasp room until her second week of school. She's in class and class has not started yet. The teacher wasn't there and kids were just kind of hanging out, goofing off a little bit, but no one was really doing anything bad until this one little jerky student, he started slinging water on the kid in front of him. And everyone was like, "Dude, what are you doing?" And he's like, no, it's fine." So he keeps on picking on this kid and he keeps on picking on him, and people are trying to take the water bottle away from him, trying to get him to stop, but he wouldn't listen. And he kept doing it. He kept on spraying him until everybody went silent because the teacher walked in. And as soon as the teacher walked in, he let out one last squeeze of the water bottle and she saw him. And he was like, "Oh, shit." And the teacher, was like, "Bullying will not be tolerated." And he's like, "Okay, I'm sorry, please." And she's like, "Nope, you're going to the wasp room." And this is when he just loses it. He's screaming and crying. He's like, "Please don't send me there, please." I'm saying this so, it's not bad at all. But that's just how he was just screaming and crying. And even the kid who he was picking on was like, no, really, it's fine, please don't send him. And she was like, shut up. And he was like, oh, sorry. Other than that, nobody was sticking up for him, and he was just refusing to go. He was just going and going, just crying, like, please don't send me, I'm sorry. And then once he just kept refusing, 2 men in gray came and they took him and they dragged him out of the classroom, and you could hear his screams down the hallway. From that point on, she was like, oh, this is bad. So she's like, I need some more information on this. So on the bus ride home, she was sitting at the back and she asked the girl next to her, hey, what do you know about the wasp room? And she was like, don't talk about it. Like, you're not allowed to talk about it. And she's like, but I want to know what's going on. And so she talks to the boy next to her, and like they're whispering, and he was like, for her own safety, she needs to know. And so now she's like, okay, what is going on? Basically, what the wasp room was, how they described it to her, was this is where misbehaving children went. And it was just exactly what it sounded like, a room full of wasps. And she was like, no, that's not true. And they were like, yes, it is. It is true. And it's really, really bad. So from this point on, she's freaked out. And they start to tell her the story of Dan Martinez. And Dan Martinez was the first kid to ever be left there after school. He got in trouble, I don't know why, and they left him there after school, but they forgot about him, and he was left there all night long. They forgot about him. They didn't mean to leave him there all night, but they forgot about him. Obviously, in the morning, he was dead, and he was so his body was just so ruined, and they could barely even recognize him when they came there in the morning to let him out. The school found a way to cover it up, which I don't even know how that would be possible. Real story or not, how do you cover up that? And they just told all the kids that he moved away. Because kids are stupid and they'll believe anything, right guys? So now she truly believed what they were saying was true. And so the next day at school, she was very cautious, and she was very just scared of breaking the rules even on accident. Like, she was just trying her best to be a good student and to not get into trouble. And she's doing pretty good. The teachers seemed to notice her change in attitude, but they didn't say anything. Everything's going good at school until that next day at lunch. So she's at lunch, and all of a sudden the hall goes quiet because they heard a crash. What was this crash? Well, it was the dropping of a food tray because a student ran into a teacher and dropped their food on accident. Now, everyone looked at them, but our main girl, don't know her name, she didn't have to look very far because it happened right next to her. Oh, Lord. Didn't happen to her, but it did happen right next to her. So she's like, what? Huh? And so immediately, this like cranky old teacher is like, look what you did. The teacher's freaking out, and he's like, go to the wasp room. And she's like, please, no, don't send me to the wasp room. Like any of us would, because atashi. And so she's like, hold up, that was me. And the teacher was like, no, it wasn't. And she was like, yeah, I was running in front of, I'm just gonna call this girl Sarah, like, because I don't want to get too confusing. So we're just gonna call our main character Sarah. Sarah was like, no, I ran in front of her. I wasn't looking where I was going, and I made her fall into you on accident. I'm sorry. And he was like, okay, whatever. You go to the wasp room. And she was like, by the way, you should probably watch where you're going. And he was like, oh, hell no. And so now he's really mad. And he's like, go to the wasp room. And she's like, I don't know where it is. And he's like, then I'll take you there. So he's taking her to the wasp room. What they're walking down is this just dark, plain corridor. She hears this buzzing sound, and she thinks at first that it's from the lights, but as she gets closer and closer to this room at the end of the hall, they get louder, and she's like, "Ooh, that is not the lights. That must be the famous wasps." When they got to the end of the hallway, there was just this big white door, and Mr. Science Teacher over here, he looked very he looked very happy to be putting her in there, which, you absolute butthole, screw you, we are children. This is a, like, are you kidding me? Like, what are you doing? Like, ew. He gets out a key. He gets this key out of his pocket, and he unlocks the door and shoves her inside. And he's like, "See you at the end of the day." So she's gonna be there for the rest of the day, which is like 3 hours for where she was. So she's in there, and she can tell that there's another person in there too. There's a boy in there too. Oh, I'm sorry. So the boy is like, "Okay, stay absolutely still. Keep your mouth shut. Keep your mouth shut. Cover everything." And so she's like, "Okay." The lights turn on, and she hears this buzzing sound, which I think we can all guess what that buzzing sound is. You guessed it, it's the wasps. Yay. She feels the wasps starting to surround her and crawl all over her, which just sounds terrifying, just absolutely terrifying. If it can eat me, I'm scared of it. I'm afraid of cows. I'm afraid of pigs, even though I have cow print bedspread. My friends make fun of me because I am so contradictory of myself. But it's fine. But I can't even imagine what that would be like. And so the kid, he's like, "Just shut up, keep your mouth closed, and don't scream, just stay still." And so that's what she does for the 3 hours. Every once in a while, the lights would turn off and the light would turn on, just intermediately. And the lights would make the wasps more aggressive because it was a very strong heat. It was like a heat lamp for a lizard cage. And so one, the heat of the lamp was painful because it would make it so hot in there. But then also, you know, getting stung by a bunch of wasps all over you does not sound very fun either. The end of the 3 hours comes, and the door is slowly opened by the great old man, our science teacher. Love him. And so the boy who was in there with her runs. Like, he just books it out of there, which I don't blame him. But she was traumatized. She's just completely ruined. She's like, "I was a different person when I went out of there." So the teacher is like, "Ooh, did you have fun?" And she calls him a monster, respectively so. And he was like, "My feelings." He's like, "Do you want to go back in?" And she was like, "Oh, hell no." And so you know what she does? You know what our girly does? Sis pushes him in to the room. Go, sis. Go bestie. She pushes him into the room, which I don't blame her. I probably would have done the same thing. I don't like that man. He's a douche. And he's like, "What'd you do?" He's on the floor. He fell. She pushed him in, and she locks him in there. And he's like, "Let me out. I'm allergic to wasps." And she's like, "Too bad, so sad. Because if I let you out, then you're going to put me back in." And so lo and behold, our wonderful dude who was in there with her puts his hand on her shoulder, and he's like, "You might want to drop the key there." And she's like, "Yeah, that'd be smart." So she locks him in, and they leave. And he didn't snitch on her, which, thank you for not snitching. That would have been really bad. I was going to do lashes, but I don't think I'm going to do them anymore. I think I'm just kind of good with my lashes for right now. So she leaves the key there, and our wonderful fellow wasp room attendee did not snitch. No one found out what happened to Mr. Science Teacher. And they got a new science teacher when they came back to class. I mean, obviously, people talk, and I mean, what are they gonna do? Investigate who put the teacher in the super illegal punishing system that we had and killed him. Like, what are you gonna do? There's no way that you can get back at a student for that with the law without bringing yourself down in the process, which I kind of wish that if the story was real, I kind of wish that they would have like tried to pursue who did it so that they would get caught. The story ends with her telling us that she will do whatever she can to escape, which maybe that's kind of like hinting at a sequel. I would love a sequel. I would totally do a video if this author did a sequel. I would totally do a video of it because I really enjoyed reading the story. I really enjoyed how just it was kind of straight to the point, you know, like the school is whack. Their punishing system is whack. Never complain about getting detention again because it's whack. To me, it kind of reminds me of the Chokie from Matilda. I don't know if you guys ever read the book or saw the movie, but I loved the movie when I was younger. The musical was my first musical that I ever saw on Broadway. It is very just giving me Chokie vibes. But then again, the Chokie, I feel like I'd rather get the Chokie than the wasp room. If you guys don't know what the Chokie is this like a hole in the wall. It's kind of like a storage closet, but like a really small one, like just for like a broom closet. It's got like rusty pipes in it, and like they got nails sticking through it, and then they put you in there and they leave you in there for however long they want. You don't get stabbed with them. It's not that kind of thing, but they're like really close to you. I mean, like if you got a little more junk in the trunk, then you're probably gonna get stabbed or like nipped a little bit, but whatever. I think stories about like schools with really weird punishing systems, for some reason, I find them very interesting. Personally, I have never gotten detention or anything. I mean, the most that I've gotten is lunch detention in middle school. One time I almost got detention because my math teacher, freshman year, this kid was like, hey, when are we gonna use this in real life? And she was like, well, you probably won't when you're working at McDonald's. And I was like, oh. And she was like, wait, you think it's funny? And I'm like, no. And she was like, go to detention. And I was like, oh. She ended up not giving me detention, but don't you just love it when teachers do that? When they're just like, you're gonna fail at life because you don't know math. And I'm like, thank you. Oh my gosh, I love my letter. For my first couple of videos, I am going to mention that this series was inspired by C. Jades and Bailey Sarian. The links to their channel are in the description of this video, my last video, and in my about section of my channel because they're just so amazing. Please go give them a watch. Like, just, they're so good. I'm gonna go do my hair real quick and then I'm gonna be back for the outro. Okay, I'm back. So, oh, no! I didn't put it down for enough and now I'm broken. Oh, I'm really sad now. Okay. My TikTok will be linked down below, as well as the link for the story that I read today on Reddit. Let me know in the comments what stories you guys want me to read next. And other than that, I'll see you later. Bye!